do you want to create dynamic headers in your Excel spreadsheet? For example, here, let's say we've got a forecast and we want to plot out the next 12 months worth of our expected income and expenses. And so right now, you might be tempted just to manually key in the months and, do it that way. But there's an easier way to do that. So I've got an area here where I'm going to set my starting month. So I'm going to type in January 1, 2024. And what I'm going to do is use a formula now to reference this value and convert it into a month and year format. So what I'm going to do is use the date function to specify, okay, I want to pull the year from this value. I want to pull the month from here. And I also want to put, actually I just need to set it to data 1. I don't need the day function. And now within this, I'm going to use my text function to say, okay, take this value and format it in a way where I've got the month, the three-letter abbreviation for the month, followed by 3 letters for the year, which is automatically the same as 4. So we've got January 2024. And so what I'm going to do is freeze these cells as well to make sure that I'm always referencing that initial starting value. Now, the one problem with this right now, though, is if I copy this, it's always going to be set to January 2024. So I need a way to increment this. But I don't want to do this. I don't want to do +1. Because the problem is then I have to do that for here too. I've got to do +2, right? And so on and so forth. So I mean, I could do it that way, but there's a better way to do that. And that's using the column function. So I'm going to show you how that works. So to create a really dynamic and versatile formula, I'm going to add the column function. So I'm going to reference A1. So it's going to take that column value, which is 1. Now I'm going to subtract 1 because I want to use this formula throughout. So even that first cell. So it's going to do basically the first column. So it's going to be 1 minus 1 is 0. So this is going to net out to 0. So it's going to still keep that same month. But as I drag this formula across, it's going to increment properly because now B1, that is the second column. So it's going to be 2 minus 1 is 1. So it's plus 1. If I copy this further out, it's going to be the third column, C. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So it's plusing 2. And now I've got a much more versatile formula that I can use that's automatically going to adjust these values for me. I don't have to, go in and do +1, +2, +3, all that stuff, right? We want to create a really dynamic formula that we can reuse over and over again. So let's say we've got right now a 12-month forecast, but let's say we want to spread it out to 18 months, right? We don't want to be going through +13, +14 and all that stuff, really tedious. And then what if you make a mistake somewhere along the way, right? So now what I can do is I can change this. Let's say I'm in October 2024 and everything automatically updates. So a really easy way to do this in Excel where we've got formulas and the really useful part about this is that column function because it's automatically going to take that column number and we can use that. And that's a really easy way to increment. The row function works the same way. We can get the row number if we're copying cells down. So as opposed to doing +1, +2, +3, we can use the column function or the row function to accomplish this and automatically increment. So that way we only have to set up the formula one time. And that's going to make it a whole lot easier if we have this consistent logic over and over again, just to copy it. However large or small our data set is, this formula is going to work for us and adapt to our data range. So that's how we can create a better way to set up our headers for forecasts or anytime you want to increment your data. Use that date function to pull in the year and the month and then the day. Wrap that in the text function so we're getting just the month and the year. And also you can use the column or row values or column or row functions to increment to make sure that you're jumping ahead as much as you need to do. So just a quick recap here. So we did the date function and I can actually go through the formula and evaluate it here for you. So we're getting that year value, getting that month value, and then we're getting that column A1, which is just a value of 1. And so we've got 10 plus 1, it's going to be 11, but minus 1. So it's already removing that effect. And so it's going to give us the 10th month of year 2024. And that first day, it's going to convert that into a month and year. And so we've got that as October 2024. If I go in here, Same thing if I evaluate this time, it's going to give me that month. And this time column B1 is a value of 2. So that's 2 minus 1. So it's going to increment properly to November and convert that into a month and a year setup. So that's how that formula works. So it's a really convenient and easy way to make your formulas adaptable, because the one thing you want to avoid as much as possible in Excel is creating formulas that have an exception. So for example, this first formula, we could have said, okay, equals this value, and then starting from this one, we do +1 and so on and so forth. But by setting it up this way, where we use that column function and do the -1 from the start, we can use it all throughout our headers to make sure that they automatically update accordingly.